Good night. All right, fire and destruction overtaking the streets of Los Angeles here. You can see all these images that overnight. This is some of the worst riots they have seen over 30 years in that city. All this over President Trump's targeted ICE raids in the city of Angels. Now, while the citizens, they try to stay safe and protect their property, just where exactly are the local and state leaders? That is the big question. I'm here with the Inside Track panel, Republican political consultant Matt Klink, as well as Republican strategist and fellow with the Independent Women's Forum, Nicole Kipralov, and also with us is Dr. Steve Turley, author of Fight, How Trump and the MAGA Movement Are Changing the World. Great to have everybody here. Nicole, start with you. President Trump, he was quick to activate the National Guard. We talked about this in the last break. But this is something the Democrats have said they don't want the National Guard troops there.
Yes, because they want this violence to continue. But let's look at what was happening here. Some of these protesters were actually waving foreign flags while assaulting ICE agents and throwing rocks at their vehicles. This is why a staple piece of the president's immigration policy is going to be this travel ban that he's now putting into place. We don't want foreign nationals who are terrorists, who are coming from Islamist terrorist regimes coming into this country and bringing that terrorism here with them from countries that do not have the infrastructure to vet these people. Until these countries have that infrastructure, can develop it somehow and share that information with the United States, we don't want people like that coming into our country, assaulting our ICE agents and imposing terrorism on the American people.
Yeah, Dr. Shirley, what's your takeaway from all of this?
Well, what you just heard is a battle cry that's being resounded throughout the globe. Yeah. If you want to know why the nationalist populist right is on fire all throughout Europe, it's exactly what you just heard.
Right.
There is an incredible sense that border security is the #1 issue that's animating voters. If there were ever a definition of an 80-20 issue, this is it. Trump is right on target with this. If he goes all the way with this and shows the American people that this isn't 2017 anymore, or in this case 2020, this is a new era. This is a new age of nationalist populism, national sovereignty. We're going to protect our borders, we're going to protect our economy, and we're going to protect our culture.
Right.
If he goes there, 80% approval all the way.
Yeah. Matt, what do you think about how the Democratic leadership there in California has handled this?
Oh, absolutely, John. Look, nationally, progressives view California and their open border immigration policy. This is not within the last 4 years. California, this is the last 20 plus years of unfettered open borders where, you know, they are the most radical sanctuary city and state possible. Of course they can't enforce this because only in California are illegal immigrants a voting constituency for the Democratic Party.
Well said. Let's move on to this. The White House right now. We're trying to get to the bottom of who is actually running the White House under former President Joe Biden. Now we've got these investigations into his mental acuity, whether or not the doctor is now going to be looked at as well, whether or not he maybe had some medical malpractice there. What's your takeaway from what's going on here? And should the American people deserve to know who is running the White House?
Absolutely. This was a textbook case of what's called virtual politics. Yeah. And when scholars write about virtual politics, they usually have Venezuela as their example, Iran as their example, where political elites give the illusion that they're transparent and they're accountable and maybe even democratic, when in point of fact, the whole thing is orchestrated and manufactured to deliberately deceive. What made this virtual politics so particularly pernicious is that you had the legacy media, most ironically Jake Tapper, join in with the Democrats and ruthlessly stigmatize people like Laura Trump and others who called out that the emperor had no clothes. And so what they tried to do is they tried to gaslight the American people into thinking that the truth tellers were liars. And the real bona fide liars were truth tellers. And if it weren't for the meltdown on June 27th that the entire world saw, they may still be engaged in this kabuki theater. So I think this is irreparably damaged the trust and confidence in the Democrats and the legacy media.
Matt, what's your thought on that? I mean, do you think that the people deserve to know who was running the country?
100%. I mean, if you've read any of the books that have come out, the book Fight and then Original Sin, they talk about literally the Politburo, which was the 4 or 5 insiders that were running day-to-day operations in the White House, and with their knowing accomplice, the mainstream media. So you had the Democratic Party working hand in hand with the mainstream media, and it's no shock that trust in both, as was just pointed out, is declining. And with Trump cutting back on some of the budget largesse that has gone on for probably 20 years, all of these Democratic-leaning NGOs that funded this machine, there's a correlation between lack of money and why the Democratic Party and the media's popularity is at their lowest point.
And John, I'm just curious about how far back this goes, because I think this went even further back than 2019. We know former President Biden spent the first 2 years, essentially, of his administration in his basement. And the Democrats were aware of all of that. He shouldn't have run for election in 2020, let alone 2024. And now Democrats are distancing themselves, saying, well, we didn't know this was happening. We didn't have access to Biden. We didn't talk about it. No one is buying that. And like you said, the mainstream media has had such a critical role in the past 4 years of this cover-up. They felt like if they weren't continuing to repeatedly lie to the American people, Trump would actually get elected and he would hold them accountable.
Absolutely. And one of those was Karine Jean-Pierre. I mean, she was the spokesperson for the White House. And now she has a book, and she says she's going to be an independent now. What do you think about that?
I think it's a continuation of the extreme left propaganda that Karine Jean-Pierre thinks that she can now distance herself from the Biden administration's worst failings and to say the system is broken. I have news for you, KJP. You were the system for 4 years. And if anybody buys her book, they're just buying into the farce that the Biden White House put out for the last 4 years.
My question, though, is, Nicole, I mean, if she was behind this or felt this way about the administration, why did she wait until she got out of the administration before she decided to switch teams? If she wanted to be an independent, she should have left the White House and have given the American people, some justice, at least, if that's the way she felt.
Yeah, she should have, but I think it's because she has no moral compass, and I think it's also because she's profiting off of this. But look, it's interesting to me because even from a strategy perspective, this just doesn't make sense to me. If I were Karine Jean-Pierre and I asked myself, well, how can I profit off of this scandal? We know that's her approach. We know she doesn't actually care about the American people. It's not like this is authentic. It's not like this resonates with the American people. The Democrats are now coming out against her, saying she was unprepared and she couldn't, was unfit to be a good press secretary. The Republicans are obviously not buying this, but even the independents, they might not subscribe to either party, but they want some authenticity here too. So even from a political grandstanding, a shallow optics perspective, this is not good strategy. I don't know what her publicists were thinking here.
And Dr. Tilley, I mean, it was so hard to get any information from her when she was the press secretary. She would always say, I'll circle back. I'll get
that was circle back Psaki.
That's right. So are we going to actually believe anything that's written in this book? Is it going to have any truth to it?
The two people that the Democrats and the legacy media do not want in the limelight in any way, shape, or form are Joe Biden and KJP. because you've got the object of the cover-up, and then you have the most prominent member of the orchestration of that cover-up. Every single day. I mean, the memes on X are hilarious. Where you just have clip after clip after clip of her show, just blatantly lying to the American people. And we now know, and even the wider media is admitting. Apparently, that's why she can't get a job right now in the media.
Incredible. Matt, your take on?
Oh, yeah. I mean, look, maybe if you read her book as a work of fiction, it might be semi-interesting, but for her to point out, as I said earlier, she worked for the Obama administration. She was the mouth of the Biden administration. How can we trust anything that comes out of her mouth now that says the system was broken? Don't believe me then, but believe me now.
Incredible.
Fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice.
All right.
Shame on you again.
Right. All right. A great panel. You guys are back here for the Inside Track coming up at 11:30. We'll have some more topics